My mom stole my inheritance and kicked me out of the family when I asked her to pay it back. My mother has me all kinds of kid up, and I'm not sure if I should just walk away. Backstory: my 27F mom, 53F, has had a really hard life. She was in a car accident at age 5 and watched her own mother die. She didn't have an active father, and no one on her mom's side wanted to take her, and so she went into foster care for a few years. Not good experience from what she told me. At age 8, she was adopted into a loving, wealthy family of 2 college professors, along with an adopted brother. She had a hard time adjusting, made a lot of bad decisions, and basically ran away in her late teens. This whole time, her adopted parents were doing everything they could to reach out to their daughter and help her get on her feet, but mostly, their efforts were wasted. She has a child at 18, then again a few years later. She lost them to foster care, and then had me with a different man. Eventually, she gets her 2 first kids back, my older half-brothers, has me, marries twice again, and has 2 more kids, my 2 younger brothers. In total, she has 5 children, 4 boys with me, the middle girl. We grow up very poor, with our mother always gone or bringing back strangers to party, leaving me to raise the youngest 2. We would visit our grandparents, mom's adopted parents, for holidays and special occasions, but with my mother's strained relationship with them, we weren't able to visit as much as we kids would like. My childhood was shitty, to say the least. That being said, I love my grandparents, especially my GPA, dearly, and they loved us kids back, and as much as they struggled with my mom, they were nothing but loving towards her from what I understand. The thing about my grandparents is that education was very important to them. I remember the encouragement for college started very early on from them, and they made it very clear that I was expected to go to college. When I was allowed to visit them, they would take me to bookstores and let me loose. They'd say, "Okay, pick one," and I would come back with 3 or 4 unable to decide. They'd laugh and get me all the books, which I could not believe. I took pride in knowing my grandparents thought so highly of my future and was determined to keep making them proud. Fast forward to 2005, I'm in 5th grade, and my grandma passed away from long-term alcohol abuse. My mom has a wake-up call and gets sober, but is still absent from AA meetings and general disinterest. Then in 7th grade, my grandpa passed as well from the same illness. This crushed me. I wasn't able to articulate any of it at the time, but that's when the big-time depression rolled in. From there on, school was very difficult for me, as well as my home life. I ended up falling pretty deep into my sorrow and stopped going to school around my junior year of high school. After a breakthrough, I decided that I had to get the hell away from that house and ultimately moved out at age 17 to a bigger city about 45 minutes away. I barely finished high school with a 1.75 GPA, and somehow, 2 teachers from the new school convinced me to sign up for the community college. They helped me fill out my FAFSA and everything. Side note, when I received my mom's financial info for that year for the FAFSA, I saw she claimed to make around $10,000 a year. That's how poor we were. After my first semester in college, I was hooked. Science was actually pretty cool. I realized I loved to learn and kept pushing through. I worked full-time, busted my ass, and after 4 years I finally achieved an associate degree, but that wasn't enough for me. I was able to transfer over to a university that I would have never been able to attend right out of HS due to grades and whatnot, and finish my BS in my favorite field of science. In total, it took me 6 years to get my BS degree, but I worked so freaking hard and I was so proud of what I was able to accomplish. Keep in mind, during my whole college career, my mother was characteristically absent and dismissive of what I was doing. When I was in my early 20s, still at community college, she packed up her and my baby brothers and moved 5 hours up north. I didn't have a car and couldn't come see them hardly at all. I was upset by this, of course, but that didn't matter to her. She eventually moved back a couple years later. Anyway, I graduate college with $40,000 college debt. Not so bad compared to most I always thought. I knew that I would have to work hard and accrue debt to get where I wanted in life, so this was a necessary burden and I've accepted that. However, things have turned in recent events in my effort to get closer to my late grandparents. I reached out to their close personal friends, let's call them the Johnsons, to get a better idea of what my grandparents were like. They were so close that the Johnsons were actually the arbiter of my GPA's will. In conversation, it came out that when my parents passed away, they left a $150,000 inheritance for the grandchildren's education. However, 3 years later, around 2010, my mother came to the Johnsons and confessed to them that she blew all the education money. On what? I have no freaking idea, but I do remember her buying a 2-door sports car, our only car for a 6-person family, after Grandpa died, so I'm sure the rest of her purchases were great investments/s. This was really upsetting to me for many reasons. I was the only grandchild that actually went to college, and that money could have easily covered my expenses. If I had that money, I wouldn't have had to spend every moment for 6 years busting my ass. I could have afforded to only have 1 job instead of 3. I could have spent that time studying and getting better grades, or done an internship, which literally makes or breaks your career in my field. I wasn't able to do any of that and haven't been able to get a related job. Not the worst thing, but unfortunate. I have a fine job in tech that I wouldn't have been able to get without my degree. I'm plenty happy with my decision. My relationship with her was already strained, but this really crossed a line for me. I emailed her telling her I knew what she did and she needed to pay me back. That's probably not going to happen. She owns a small business in social media and it doesn't do that great. I kind of want to just cut ties forever, but I'm so angry. I also want her to pay back the money she stole. I am so out of my depth. What to do? I found out my fiancé is with me for money/family business. To preface, my family owns a business that is very well known in our sector and makes loads of profit. Thus I am a trust fund baby. I try to not be spoiled and have always worked myself. I met my fiancé Mark when I was 20 and working as a waitress. We began dating a few months later and he proposed to me last year. Now Mark is not poor. He is upper middle class. And while he doesn't struggle in life, he didn't have too much to spend and lived very frugal. I thought he was an honest man because he always wanted to pay for his own things, reject expensive family holidays when we were still dating, and he would cook for me instead of going with me dining outside. What I want to say is that I never had the impression that Mark was trying to take advantage of me or my family. In the beginning, my family was a little sketched out and brought up the gold digger argument, and I stood up for him and fought with my dad. They came to love and accept him. When Mark graduated, Dad hired him and now he is in a high earning position. Sunday, I was supposed to work in the evening and I was going to stay with my sister. But I got a fever and was basically just non-functioning, so I stayed home. Instead of staying in our bedroom, I made my way to the guest room that is better ventilated, has a mini fridge and its own bathroom. I didn't want to stand up at all and walk around, so I just bunkered all my stuff there and closed the door. Mark came home when I was fast asleep and I was woken up by loud voices in our garden. I pushed the curtains a bit to the side and Mark was there with a few friends. Just as I wanted to say hello, I noticed that they were talking about me. His friend kept laughing and calling Mark the man. Then they started laughing about me being willing to not sign a prenup. Then one of the girls that was there said something along the lines of, "Jesus, you about to make some bank, Mark?" Mark laughed and said, "Yeah, just 3 more years and I am free." At this moment, I felt sick to my stomach and wanted to throw up. I kept hearing them calling me trust fund Barbie and stupid and so on. I didn't know what to do, so I just lied petrified in my bed and waited till the people left and Mark went to bed. I texted my sister and snuck out to her place in the middle of the night and just passed out without telling her anything. I haven't returned home and just told Mark that I was sick and didn't want to make him sick. My sister has been really worried, but I just feel so ashamed about everything. My family was right. Mark is a gold digger and I fell for it. Even if I tell my family what happened, I have no proof. My father can't fire him just because he is a dick. As far as I know, he is excellent at what he does and he has no legal foot to fire him, I think. I just feel so confused, ashamed, and angry and would appreciate some insight. Edit: we are non-US. Mark wasn't talking about anything else. He has no debt as he partly was under a scholarship and with part of it I helped pay it off. There is no way he wasn't talking about me. Edit 2: thank you all for your great advice. I opened up to my sister about it and she is right now with me reading all your responses. We have called up Dad and I will talk to him tomorrow. I will be signing out for the time being. Thanks again. Edit 3. Some questions have come up. I don't drive, that's why my fiancé didn't see my car. I mostly Uber around. I worked as a waitress for the experience, not for the money, and I don't any longer. I don't work for my father, I am a company shareholder and I have to go to the general quarterly meetings, but I don't work for him. I am sure that it wasn't a fever dream. It was around 38.5 C, and while it was enough for my body to hurt, it wasn't enough to have a vivid dream. By pass out at my sister's, Don team leader, all medically passing out. Last edit, I am really tired that you guys are defending him, saying that it could have been a joke. Guess what? It's not fucking funny. You don't degrade and disrespect your partner for laughs. You don't go along calling them stupid, trust fund Barbie, stupid bitch, and you definitely don't make remarks yourself. I don't understand that macho bravado, as many of you have called it, but I don't think that's okay, so stop with those comments. It was deeply hurtful. Update, September 26, 2019. First of all, I want to clarify some questions that came up in the OP. Mark couldn't have seen my car and known I was home because I don't have a car. I don't drive, I Uber around. Driving makes me anxious and I only do it when necessary. I don't work as a waitress anymore. I worked for the time I was in uni. Mark wasn't hired as a high exec right away. He didn't take the job from anyone. He started as a normal intern and worked his way up. They weren't joking. They have never made that kind of remarks in my presence. Also, I doubt calling me a stupid trust fund Barbie qualifies as a joke. Update. I was very tempted to play the long game and lead him on. But I decided to just present him with a prenup to look into his reaction. After telling my dad, we invited Mark for lunch and would serve him the prenup there. However, to be sure about things, I asked him if he had had anyone over because our neighbors had complained about loud noises. He said yes, that his buddies were there. He didn't mention the girls that I saw. We finished lunch and Dad served him the papers saying that it was a must for getting married. You could instantly see that he didn't expect this. He got angry and asked me to speak to him alone. We went into the other room and he began babbling about blindsiding him and that this just really felt like a personal attack. He was trying so hard to sell me the role of victim and making me out to be the villain. Then he just said that he needed to think everything trough and left. I have to admit I kind of broke down and began second-guessing me, but I could keep it together. My family happily didn't pull the "I told you so" s. We looked into everything and I have the legal right to evict him. The lawyer handled everything. Wrote an official eviction notice. And after a lot of talk, Dad decided to present Mark with a deal so that he would leave the company. After that was all sorted out, I decided to just simply text, as one of you suggested, "Hey Mark, trust fund Barbie here. As you said you would be free in 3 years, I'll do you a big favor and set you free now. Kisses." Up. My phone completely blew up with Mark's messages after I sent that. He texted and called me so many times I had to switch off my phone. He came to my sister's place as he wanted to explain the situation. He promised that it was just a joke like a million times. I said it wasn't cutting it. They disrespected me in my own house, and I didn't want to be with someone that puts me down in order to appear better. He pleaded, her cried, he begged me not to end things. When I wasn't budging, he got mad at me, accusing me of spying on him and ruining his life. Honestly, it. Then his manner changed once again to apologetic. He eventually owned up to the comment he made, still insisting that it was just a shitty joke. And then when I asked him why he didn't tell me about those random girls that appeared to know so much about me, he told me this weird story of them being cousins from one of his buddies and that they know of me because of my Instagram. Shit's private and I have like 30 followers. I stood strong and I ended things with him. I will never know what exactly his plan was, but it's better to have things this way. We still have to sort out some financial stuff, but after that I won't ever see Mark again. Sorry for any mistakes, I am really sleepy. Just thought it would be good to update you. Edit. Because you have to spoon feed people every tiny bit of information or this get written off as fake. Obviously the lawyer didn't draft a prenup from zero in half an hour. I do have siblings, I do have cousins, and some of them are engaged/married, thus we have already established prenups to go. Also, we didn't need a bulletproof prenup for this. I just wanted to see his reaction. Serving him with a boilerplate prenup would have served the same purpose. Also, no, I didn't ruin his life. He will not be fired. He will not be badmouthed in any kind of way. He has still all the opportunities in the world to succeed. I thought I made it clear that I gave him notice for eviction, meaning he had days to leave the property. That's why I am staying with my sister. It's not a done deal, it's still in Porges, but the biggest steps have been made. Jesus people.